Hello, everyone. Really, really nice to be here. I've always wanted to be part of a gaming event. Never been, actually. Just been on the back end of games, doing other things. But I'm so happy to be here today, and thanks to all the organizers for putting this all together. It's been a great experience. I've been to some of the talks. The barrier was very high for me. What I saw yesterday on some of the presentation was amazing. I'm not going to deliver probably the same results today, but please bear with me, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to speak about today. And it's actually how we built and leveled up the community and player support for the biggest gaming companies in the world. So for me to be able to walk you into why I'm the one presenting and how we got to this point, I need to give you a bit of backstory about myself. As mentioned, my name is Dayana, and I have been a gamer since 1997. Since my story started in the gaming, basically with my parents owning one of the first computer gaming clubs in Varna. We started with a small garage of 10 computers, and we expanded to over 200 computers in the span of 5 years. So naturally, I've spent my days and nights in the club from the very early age. Just here are 5 points for Gryffindor if anyone actually guesses which game is that. I don't think the quality is so good, but anyone? No? No, on the ice pen. Sorry? Yeah. Correct. we give the 5 points to you.
No, not the Gryffindor.
Okay, I thought someone would say that actually, but yeah. So naturally, I have been enjoying games as like Serious Sam, Half-Life, CS, Red Alert, Age of Empires, Heroes 3 since their very first days. And also, in addition of that, I was able to have a PC in my home since very early age as well. So I've joined the community since its beginning. I get often asked how did I keep my skin condition so good, because I'm 30 years old, and what most of my friends don't know is that I spent a good 14 hours a day playing World of Warcraft through most of my life, which contributed to walls and exposure and so to other benefits. Speaking of other benefits, I got to actually earn quite a lot of money from gaming. I was able to compete on competitive level in both Counter-Strike and World of Warcraft. And I finished in top 5 worldwide during my peaks, which did come with some financial compensation. And in addition, once I stopped competing, I had the privilege to work alongside Blizzard Entertainment on organizing some of their tournaments. So I was consulting them on how to do it, what the community is expecting, and so on. So to further boost my financial income, I started actually organizing one of the first boosting communities in World of Warcraft. So we sold thousands and thousands of boosts to clients worldwide, and I've worked with some of the biggest names in World of Warcraft, such as Method and some other players that, if anyone has played this game, has definitely heard about. And I did all of that while I was studying and working, and it was at this point that I realized, wow, I do love gaming, and it is one of my passions. Hardly any of these things I could put on my CV. So this is when I started asking myself, well, how can I actually get into gaming with all of the things that I love doing and all of the things that I care about, and how would I be able to work for these gaming companies in Bulgaria? And one of the biggest struggles I had is that at the time, not many of the biggest gaming companies actually had headquarters in Bulgaria. And for me, relocation wasn't really an option because I deeply cared about creating opportunities in Bulgaria for young people. So I wanted to change the status quo in Bulgaria for the gaming industry. So I wasn't really that techie. Unfortunately, I was able to assemble a PC because, let's be honest, when you're a gamer, you kind of need to, because when your PC has a certain problems in the middle of the game, you don't have really the time or the patience to call someone to fix it. So I had to do it myself. So I was able to assemble a PC, do a lot of stuff hardware-wise. And later on, I did learn how to code just because it was interesting. But at some point, I realized it wasn't really my thing. The IT industry, although very interesting, although very useful, wasn't really my thing, and I couldn't really go into it for that reason. So I also deeply, as I mentioned, cared about creating opportunities in Bulgaria, and this seemed like a further complication at the time. As I said, not many companies had headquarters in Bulgaria, and those that had very limited options, specifically in the IT, UX, UI, design, and so on. So during my studies, I had one of my friends call me, and she said, hey, could you help my mom find a job? She was living in the UK for a very long time, so she didn't know the companies here in Bulgaria. So I was like, sure, it's going to be 50 euros an hour. I'll help your mom find a job. But yeah, I did help her mom find a job. But what I also found was Pontica Solutions. And at the time, they had quite a good jobs that fitted my profile, because I had 2 business economics education. So for me, business was also quite interesting. It was also a passion. I found them, I found their website, and the reason why I applied was because they stated Bandai Namco was one of the clients that they have. So this for me was, wow, I do want to join you guys. I applied, and here I am 3 years later. I found a job where not only I was able to contribute to the Bulgarian gaming industry, but also I was able to put all of the things that I did in my CV. A bit about Pontica Solutions. It's a Bulgarian-owned company, an outsourcing company that provides various types of services for different clients. We're used by companies in different calibers, Fortune 500 companies, industry leaders, unicorns, startups, and pretty much all type of different companies. And why do they use us? A lot of people would say, well, cost cutting. Well, that's not the only reason. We have expertise in setting operations in various verticals. So this is another big reason why most of these companies come to us. I joined Pontica in 2020 as a team manager. They opened their first office in Varna, where I'm from. I'm living there. And I joined them with a team of 30 people. At this point, this team is 330 people across the 4 locations that Pontica has. And my capacity has changed as a senior account manager. I'm overseeing the strategic development of the operations, and about 400 people indirectly report to the teams that I'm managing. But more importantly, I am actually heading the gaming departments, the gaming projects we have. I'm overseeing them, and we are actually servicing clients such as Bandai Namco and Tencent, providing community support and customer service for games such as Elden Ring, Tekken, Dark Souls, Pac-Man, and many, many more. And just to give you a little bit more information on what exactly we do, I need to walk in one of our oldest partnerships. This is Bandai Namco. You see some photos behind us from the team. We've been working with Bandai actually for just about 5 years. In fact, in 5 days, we're celebrating 5 years with this team. The client's going to be here. We're going to have a big Pac-Man cake. And yeah, it's been a great partnership with Bandai, and I want to walk you in what we've done with them and how it transformed the way they communicate with their players, with their community across the many years that we've actually worked with them. So, what we do for Bandai, well, from their customer and technical support on their games, we are also overseeing the store support, the many figurines that Bandai is selling, and all the Bandai products they have. The biggest challenge in setting up a team like Bandai, because it is a relatively small team, it's just 15 players that are supporting all these games. So you may be thinking behind Elden Ring stays a huge team that actually answering queries, but no, it's actually just the guys in Bulgaria that are overseeing the support of such games. It's kind of a difficult challenge to support a client like Bandai because they have over 130 games across their platforms. And as many of you know, there is different types of genres, different type of games. So they do completely different things from one thing to the next. And this for us generates a tiny volume of different requests coming from all these games, but a great spectrum of issues that we have to deal with on a daily basis with the team. So how do we achieved all of this, and how did we support all of this, and why Bandai Namco has one of the best customer services actually worldwide? Well, it happens in quite a few stages. First stage is we have actually gamers hired. Of course, this is probably no shock to anyone. But what we do is we dedicate about 20% of everyone's time into playing games. Why? Because let's be honest, you become an expert in a game once you wipe in it for at least several days. And this was something that we been doing in the 5 years. So we can continue making sure that whatever frustration a player is experiencing, we have experienced the same frustration and we're able to support them on anything they have. With the years, we've created quite a few positions that are not quite normal in the customer service and community management. One of them is a project manager that oversees pretty much anything that can happen in a client journey. And what he sees basically and what he spots is making sure that if you come to us with any type of requests, we know the answer before you've asked the question. So they're setting up all the FAQ sections. Anything you face on Bandai's games and anything you face on their websites is set by us. We are supporting this. We're making sure that all the questions are answered there. In addition, yesterday I was witnessing a talk here about UX and UI design, and someone actually gave an example with Bandai Namco and with the Elden Ring, and why the tutorial was done the way it was. So this was something that we also observed in the customer service and community management support. So we did signal it that this could be something that will challenge players already on the beta. But we were explained that this was intended to be this way, and this allowed us to prepare. And so when many players came to us and asked, well, what's happening with these tutorials? I couldn't find it for like 5 years. You guys, can you make it a little bit easier? We were already ready to basically answer all the questions and all the worries gamers had. In addition to that, we have a technical support whose job is to monitor, report, and escalate any bug. So our customer support team plays the games, they notice a bug, so we escalate it immediately to the technical support team, who are in close contact with the product teams, with the dev teams in the different development studios that work on Bandai games. And this is how we prevent a lot of the issues that could be stumbled across by different players, even go out, and the community never notices some of them, because we're the first one to do it. When I said we do 20% of our time playing, what I meant really is that we come to work and the first thing we do is we play the game that we're specialized in. So each person has a game that they're specialized in, and this is how their shift starts, basically. Another thing that we do and we have is, as I said, a technical expert whose job is to monitor and report escalations, but also the customer support team. They have a team manager who is basically overseeing everything that the team is doing. And here a good example is when Elden Ring was actually being released, we actually managed to not go into backlog, even though we had 21K tickets coming every single day from Elden Ring. And this is a team of 15 people that had to handle all of this volume. How did we do it? Well, we prepared very well. We knew what the questions would be coming to us, so we actually had an answer to 95% of the questions before they even reached us. So we were prepared with a lot of predefined macros and predefined text that we could send out, so we don't waste a lot of time into actually answering questions, but rather make sure that everyone get a reply on time. And for the 5 years that we've been working with Bandai Namco, a lot of things changed. But when Bandai came to us, they didn't really have community support. They didn't really have customer service. That function was taken internally from their teams, but no one was specialized. There wasn't a specialized team. So what we did is we built up all the processes from the ground up for pretty much everything they do. We created all the FAQ sections. Anything that you see is created by the team. Through collaboration with Bandai, we actually changed their loyalty programs. We changed the penalties that go to players. So if anyone here got banned in any of their games and got unbanned, I know the guys that you can thank. And the next thing that we did is we changed all the consumer processes. Pretty much anything from day-to-day activities that we face, we changed it. We also reduced the time to answer any question that comes from a consumer from 3 tickets sent to 1.5. Why? Because, well, we have the preparation, and also because we make sure that you don't waste time waiting for us to reply. We just do it, and we do it as fast as possible. And one of the key things here is the customer satisfaction for Bandai in specific is 90%. With an industry standard of 80, we're way above it, and we've been maintaining it for over 5 years. And all of these things happened because most of the team has been with us for 5 years. Actually, everyone that started with the team, about 80% of them are still with the team to this day, 5 years later, which in 2020 kind of won us a prestigious award for the best customer service department worldwide. And that was an effort from these amazing teams that are working on the Bandai titles that you can see many of them in the photos behind me. These are some of the many achievements we had with Bandai, and what is important here to note is that clients like Bandai are actually really trusting our expertise. They come to us because they know we are experts in doing that. So when it comes to these things, what we like to think is that we're an extension of the business of our partner. Bandai doesn't view their team in Bulgaria as a BPO that they've outsourced for something to be done. They see us as someone that is part of their company that is contributing to them having a better service across their multiple platforms. And yeah, I think that I want to make just a small note here that all of these things that I'm presenting today are actually the work of this amazing team on the photos. I am overseeing this team, but I can tell you that many of the achievements that I've listed now are the work of these amazing people. So I don't want to take the credit. I want to give them the credit. I know many of them are watching us right now. And I do hope that if any of you guys are thinking to go into the gaming industry and they're wondering, okay, well, I don't want to do programming, I don't want to do UX, UI, and so on, but I do really want to work in the gaming industry, well, there is in Bulgaria other means and ways for you to enter this industry. This is just one case study, and I'm going to invite on the stage our operations manager for the next gaming studio that we have. It's a Tencent-owned gaming studio that works with us. Ignacio, I'm giving you the word.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello there. I would like to share with you my experience in the Shark Mode project. So For those of you who don't know it, SharkMob is a relatively new game studio. They were founded by former developers from Hitman, from The Division. They also have with them people who worked in Battlefield, Escape from Tarkov. So, of course, very interesting project. They were acquired by Tencent. And so, of course, this brings context to the situation and to the project itself. And as you probably know, once you're a new studio, once you have a new game, right, first impressions matter a lot. Their debut game was Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhunt. So Battle Royale based on the iconic IP, but Vampire the Masquerade. I see nods of approval. That's good. But so yeah, the objective that we had, so our team had, was to, again, as a new studio, we had to, what we called unlock the advocacy amongst the community. We had to fit in a community that sometimes can be scary, and we needed to gain the respect, right? And we had to do so in two verticals. First one was player support. So of course, any issue you have with the game, any problems with account, with the game, or anything, even any feedback, you would come to our team. And also any interaction that you would have in social media, in Discord, in Steam, for example, Steam reviews, Steam discussions, anywhere. We were also that team, right? So we were doing the community management for SharkMob. So before we dive into it, two beliefs that I want to share here, two learnings. As I said, I just want to share with you the insights that I have from this experience. And so I have two beliefs. One is that there is a massive, so in life, and most likely in the creative process, in the artistic environment, there's a massive divergence between your idea, what you want to do, what you actually end up doing, and most importantly, what people understand from it, right? So, of course, knowing this is something that you have to work towards and you have to try to compensate. Second belief is that it's about being realistic, right? We do what always the best and we aim for perfection, but we need to do the best we can with what we have, right? So we need to be smart and we need to be realistic about our resources. That is time, budget, you know, even the legal frame that you have for a project. So with that context on, I will honestly skip the introduction or how important or how crucial it is to have a solid support team and have respectable presence in the community. I believe to a certain extent, all of you've played games, you know what the developer means, as in, you know, that figure that is out there that is, you know, ignoring their communities and doing whatever, right? So I'll skip how important that is, right? But I want to focus on something that, in my experience, I saw. And I've been working with companies like Riot Games, Epic Games, and of course, I've also been learning from colleagues who work in other companies, like I said, Battlefield, Tarkov, and so on, so battle state games. And there's something that I see that, to me, was a massive opportunity that was there, and people were not really appreciating, or at least I thought we could benefit more from it. And that is that the ideas, the thoughts, the advice, and the experience from those in the front line, those that Dayana was mentioning here, that you can probably see here. This is my team. I love them. Their ideas are often disregarded, not because, of course, they're not seen as valuable, but just because, well, you know, it's just not in the process. And so I would just want to give you some context here. These people that you see here, they've been 24/7, literally. So we have morning, evening, and night shift, Monday to Sunday. They've been interacting with the community, with the people that you know, play the game, across the entire globe on 12 different languages. They're from different nationalities, different languages, different regions, of course, different cultures, right? So for example, we had some impact in Russia, and well, you know, it's good to know that you have someone that can really understand a culture that is probably not mine. I'm Spanish, so it seems a bit distant to me. And so having this is massive value, right? We of course see the opinion of players because we're there 24/7 with them. So what we see, of course, you know, it's just to give an example. If there's, you know, an opinion that time to kill is too fast or too slow, depending on the update, or a certain class is too OP, of course we we can see that, right? And we have the impact here, of course, is that all these people that you see here, as Dayana mentioned, we've spent our entire life playing video games, right? So we have all the types of people here. We have, RTT, strategy masterminds. We have me, a Counter-Strike rat. We have Dayana with her bagage and, Wolf competitive player. We have even VTM Dungeon Masters, D&D Dungeon Masters. So we have a lot of opinions and a lot of insights here. And so, of course, it's just natural and it's valuable that, we can channel their expertise. So, as you can imagine, in this room, in this office, we had opinions, as I said, on how things should be done, right? And so what I'm super happy and super proud that we did with SharePomp is that we enabled this partnership in a way that we channeled in a professional and efficient manner the opinion and the insights from there, so to a point that it became our responsibility. It was part of our job to analyze how people were feeling about the game and send this feedback directly to the people that were responsible for these things. So that is a bit, the value of this. And of course, the results show we have 34,000 reviews on Steam, with mostly positive. Recent reviews is very, very positive. So you can, of course, infer it's not only this, but it's part of the contribution to how people perceive your team and your community and the studio. So as for how we did it, a bit more in the technical side. So of course, as anything, you need to try to do your best, of course. And building a player support team, building a community management team is complex on its own and it has challenges. But to a certain extent, I would assume that many, many companies would try their best. But something that is this idea that I mentioned before, this thing of channeling the knowledge of your people, is we did it in 3 different ways. I will not extend too much because I'm cautious of time, but first, we had sentiment reports. So at the end of every week, right, we spent an entire week speaking with our people, with our players. We've been, knowing what the issues are, what the good things are, what the improvements that we can make are. And so we also have an insight of what is more realistic than not. So at the end of every week, we would gather all these insights from the social media. We would, of course, have the tools to analyze, growth, comparison week over week, and so on and so on. Interactions, impressions, etc. But of course, we can read this data, we can read what this means, and we can give this suggestion. So we would build the sentiment reports, we would send them to SharePomp, and we would explain, hey, this is what we think a proposal, a suggestion of a next step is. Second is very similar to this, is a survey analysis. And this is a very clever idea or thing to do, is once you release an update, you have a patch. You can directly ask the community, hey, do you like it? Do you not? Do you want to recommend this game to other people? Do you plan on playing the game? And so with that feedback, of course, we receive like thousands of replies, and someone has to read them. So we did it. And with that feedback, we built this, again, analysis and this surveys. And of course, here it's important to mention talent. We have Ivan Alexiev with us. We have honestly, a mastermind, a very good brain that can read data. He can read, of course, like numbers, and he can explain a very good story through that. So, of course, he was also like immense contribution to the whole thing of getting accurate ideas out of this. And so, third, and it's also very one that I'm very proud as well, is we were part of the articles that we were writing to the community. So we were directly involved in the creative and the decision-making process of how do we want to communicate these updates to the team. To the players, to the community. And so it's through these things, right, and the value that is not usually expected from, let's say, a community team or a support team, that we were able to channel it, to make it a reality. And, that's the beauty of it. So my conclusions, or just my final thoughts on this, is that, there's so many opportunities for developers and for companies to collaborate together and to, as Dayana mentioned before, rely on others' expertise and experience in doing such type of things. And of course, if you want to work, because just like me, you don't see life without games, let's say, It's all the knowledge that you have. You spend your entire life playing games. You have a specific knowledge. So, of course, this world is Sphera is a very good place to put that into. So that's on me. I will give it back to Dayana. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Can I have my microphone back? Sorry. Just to wrap up. Yeah? Is it? Okay, perfect. So these are two case studies we have. On the back, you can see the video for the Best Customer Service Department of the Year for Bandai Namco. We're going to see Bandai across different locations, as well as our team here in Bulgaria. And what I wanted to do at the end is just wrap up something that is quite important, is that these two case studies don't only illustrate the hard work that teams are putting. They illustrate that what we do actually have an impact, and they illustrate that the people we hire actually know that they have an impact. So they come to us, they join our teams, and they truly contribute to the industry. In fact, with the work we do here in Bulgaria, we are actually able to pave the industry, pave the gaming industry, pave the customer service expectations across other development studios. And I'm really, really happy to share that not only I could add all of this on my CV, but I was also able to create opportunities for people in Bulgaria to join this industry, which was a lifelong dream for me. I really wanted to have this type of contribution. And I'm really, really happy to say that this year we actually became an official partner for Tencent. So we are actually able to get more games to be supported from Bulgaria. And this is not where we stop. We're going to aim to get as many gaming studios come to us so we can really paint the picture that Bulgaria is a destination where these things are done and are done really well. They are done above the industry standards, because for our clients, we're really the experts, and for our clients, we did level up their support. So thank you so much for today. And yeah, off to any questions.
Do we have questions? Audience, please. At least one.
Hi.
Hi.
So from my perspective, one of the toughest aspects of community management is translating player feedback into actionable directions for a development team. Is it part of your responsibility to weigh the sources of player feedback, and how much does a player's proficiency factor into the feedback? Like, let's say, pro player's experience versus a casual player's experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is something that we do. So we do it on both levels. So we go through pretty much all of the experience that comes from different channels. We have forums, we have Discord channels. We also go with streamers and what is given in different streamers. This is something we actually forgot to mention, but I know SharkMob used to ban streamers that were cheating, and they were going around looking at streamers and actually banning them. It's another topic. But yes, it's taken into account. We can see, so we have full access to the back data, so we can see when someone, for example, comments, if they are associated with their account in the game, we can see how much time they've spent playing, how much of this time they've spent, for example, just sitting in the game idle or actually doing something else. So we can see what their proficiency is in the game. In addition to that, when we give feedback, we always try to make sure that we have very good analyzed data, and there is a lot of data points that prove the point. Because we communicate this back to product teams, we communicate this back to dev teams. We know these teams are quite busy, they have a lot to do, so we can't really afford to give them any information that is not 100% confirmed through some analytical data that we have that we can show. So yes, all of this is taken into account. This is part of the responsibilities. Of course, when we are selling this type of service to clients, it's not one of the things that we can paint a picture with, but it's something that our clients kind of get the benefit of once they start working with us, and once we start providing this data, they can see how useful it is, they can see which channels they want to take it from. But it goes even beyond the normal community channels like Discord for gaming. It goes into local channels like Viki in Russia, Kontakte, or some Korean social media channels, or even Facebook and other places where we can see that the gamers are voicing their opinion. So what we do is we take snapshots of everything, everywhere, combine it into one big picture, and that's what we feed back to the dev studios and to the product teams.
Yeah, thank you.
If I may expand a little bit on that, just to so in this specific case of my team, what we would do also, so all of what she said, but also we would just label things so that we would not make the decision how much it weights, right? So for example, pro player or casual player, etc. What we would do is we label, right? We know, like, if we have that information, we would label where this comes from, what channel, etc. And then we would of course have a suggestion, but what I always try to do is, well, this is what we have the data, this is my suggestion, let's give you everything, you make your own, right? But in a way, of course, into the higher decision making, I mean. But yeah, that's great.
Okay, I have a question. How and when was the connection with Bandai Namco created? Did they contact you or vice versa?
So we started working with them back in 2017, just the beginning of the year, and we basically had an old contact that knew the owners of our company, that has been working with one of the owners of the company. So they get in touch with us. We basically started working with them just a couple of months after that. What's important here to note is that Bandai, obviously owned in Japan, has an European entity that oversees the Europe, but also some Japanese parts. These are the guys that we work with on day-to-day basis.
Another question. Do you have any any representatives from Japan? Have they came here in Bulgaria, or did they visit the office?
We, in fact, have just in literally one day from now, on Monday, Bandai is arriving to Bulgaria with their team to celebrate the 5 years of the creation of this partnership. So yes, we do have them in the offices. They do come quite often. In fact, now they are buying some studios, maybe some of you know, and the studios are also coming to our offices. So yeah, we with their partners as well, not only with Bandai themselves, but also with different dev studios that are acquired by Bandai.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool to meet these people.
Yeah, I really like their games.
No, me too.
Okay, questions? Last question. Oh, we have one.
Hello.
Hey.
Do you monitor only official channels of communication that you have established, or do you monitor and other mentions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Yeah.
So, I mean, I would just speak for, again, my experience. Yes, we do. We, for sure, well, we have the access, right? We operate in all the official channels, every social, everything that you can imagine. We are there and we officially interact there. But we also, of course, monitor things that, for example, what is called listening, right? Listening is, I don't know, you type Blood Hunt on Twitter, let's see what you find, right? So, of course, there's ways to optimize it in a way, like to do it more, with social community management tools. But yeah, it's part of the things we do. Of course, we focus mostly on official, because that's also where we need to output something, we need to be there. But of course, part of sentiment report, part of understanding sentiment is going everywhere. We would even go into YouTube and see YouTubers what they're saying about the game, because that's, probably main opinion driver. So those are things we monitor, yeah.
Yeah, streams, comments in
Everywhere.
YouTube,
Yeah.
everything. Like we would sometimes even just Google something specific and look at all the results and find some really old websites that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I actually forgot we do have a monitoring team that, I should have included this. So basically we have people that are 24/7 is what you mentioned about banning people. They are 24/7 on social media outside our socials, and they're just looking for, it depends, but when you have a cheating case, you would be looking mostly for cheating. So you would find cheaters everywhere, right? So if you find evidence, and so of course, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, those channels are mainly observed outside our main socials.
Yeah, sometimes a studio would want to have a sentiment sent out. For example, the way it was for Sharkmob and cheating. So we would wait for someone to stream live that they're cheating and just go immediately and ban them, and people were like, ah. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. And one more follow-up questions maybe. So what type do you receive any request from your clients for specific feedback? Or
Do we receive any requests too?
for specific feedback
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. We do. For example, for Elden Ring, we had prepared like a huge report that basically highlighted all the stages of the game when it came out. So we kind of translated what the players felt in the different stages. And this was by request from Bandai, who said, okay, let's see how the gaming community felt about the game, what is liked, what is not liked, just to see an overview of how the game was basically implemented. And if there was anything that they could do, for example, better next time around, so they can feed it back to the dev studios, to the product teams and so on. So yeah, I don't know if SharkMob has ever asked something specific.
Of course, every day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
No break.
the thing is, I mean, I would say SharkMob was special, as in we built a very strong partnership where we were just doing things together. So we would just ask each other, and they would ask us feedback on what do you think about this decision we're making, right? So for me, that's an achievement. Of course, you're part of. Well, you can influence that, and of course, it's something good. So yeah, in short, we do receive a lot of requests for feedback, specific, non-specific. We want to know this specific thing in Russia, how it's going. We want to know this specific thing, whatever. So those as well, but also, what's your take on this? So both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm so happy.
Hi. How do you work with developers regarding community management? And do you have some best practices for preventing them from doing wrong stuff, or, for example, demanding from them to participate more? Can you recommend some best practices?
I'm very sorry. I'm not sure I understood the question. Could you repeat or formulate different?
The involvement of developers in community management, because they always intervene more or less. Do you have some best practices probably preventing them from participating, or vice versa?
Oof, it's dangerous grounds.
Yeah, it is.
It is a thing, of course. And I mean, of course, I would say here, honestly, it really is going to depend on the company culture and how well things are delimited, how well, that the definition, that responsibility, that trust, right? If you have a global community manager, is he who is, leading the entire communication, or does he have to, let's say, pledge or, well, I don't know, listen to, other things? But of course, one of the things here, and again, this is something I wanted to expand a little bit more, is when we did the articles, right? For example, we had a massive change to UI. In my opinion, who's going to explain that better than the people that actually did that change? So we went on, and me personally interviewed a lot of people in the different departments that were doing these changes. And well, I just, what I thought is, of course, I'm in the side of community. I know what we should say and not, and how to not mess up with things. But of course, I need their opinion. Of course, they know better than me, right? Other thing is, well, I don't know if you would, I don't know. Yes, put in other examples. For example, I don't know, Tarkov, and this usual type of thing where you see the official side of the company being one, and then let's say lead director or something is just going on their own. Well, I think it's also part of how things are, and also enriches, right? Because they can do it personally, and they cannot impact, because they're saying, oh, it's my personal opinion, so that's good, and so you can keep on the official side things very neat and very structured. So, but yeah, it's a balance, I would say, and of course depends on the company itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Heavily depends on the company, I think.
Yeah, mostly.
Hi, I have two questions actually. First one is, what does a day in the life of a member of your team look like, a typical day? And the second one is, how much, is it part of your job to actually communicate stuff like public announcements to players on behalf of the studio, in addition to, of course, collecting player feedback and working through that?
Absolutely. What was the first part? Sorry, I got to focus.
What's a typical day look like for a member of your team?
Well, it's I mean, it depends, right? Of course, you have a lot of verticals, you have a lot of things to do. So we divide the work in a way that we feel is sufficient. So that's first thing. You never do the same things. Like you would rotate on different sections. But yeah, well, it's very interesting. Of course, you would have let's say a more, for me, it's very interesting, the challenge of, I have an issue, I have someone crashing the game, And of course, nobody in this world knows how to fix that, like in that specific one. So you better, I don't know, read your logs and start trying to figure out how to fix that. So technical side of things is very interesting. So that's part of it. Or, the whole communication and how you make someone who is very angry at your company because something happened, how you make them understand a different point of view and, let's say, de-escalate the situation. Those things are very interesting. So it's a huge part of the job, of course. The other side is, I would say, the more friendly one, the more where we go into Discord and we're just speaking with people on Discord, or we would moderate, or we would, watch the streamings. But yeah, so it goes a little bit about these two things, but mostly it's very fun because you get very engaged and very invested in these things. And so the second part of the question I just forgot.
Can I add something to this,
sorry.
Ignacio? So because I know your team does it as well, but because we mentioned it earlier, probably you didn't mention it now, but we do spend a lot of time gaming as well. In fact, this is just the way to go. We are, from some of our customers, we are required to do it, and we're very happy about that as well. Because it is very valuable to see it from the perspective of the player and kind of predict what the sentiment would be on different issues so we can address them well. So in Bandai in specific, for example, because there's 130 titles, no way that we can be proficient in everything. Each person in the team has to spend a certain amount of time to be an expert in each game that is basically put for them to become an expert at. So that would be, I think, also 20-30% of the work that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I would just say opinion here. Of course, it's a bit. I would say not arrogance, but you need to know the game in order to support it. So it's just essential, right? We do have the computers. We do play a lot, and so.
Yeah. I saw your team the other day in the office. They were staying till 3 a.m. and they were just playing the game.
It happens.
Like,
it happens. Yeah.
Boosting the numbers.
And sometimes they get personal, right? We would go and challenge each other. So yeah, it's personal.
As gamers do, of course.
Yeah.
And the second question was how much of your guys' job is actually publicly communicating with the players on behalf of the studio?
Yeah. So again, you would have here two instances. One is you as a representative with your name, right? So me as Ignacio, I'm part of community team. So I can, I have a lot of interactions. As I said, fixing issues, replying to your question. Hey, when is this going to come up? I can say, hey, check out here. We have the info here. And so when you go in the side of we are the company doing a public announcement, I would say that's lesser time, but that's the thing. We had a lot of involvement in this. And so everyone in my team had the chance to be part of these articles that we wrote, right? And so, of course, it's a different thing to say, hey, I'm from SharkMob. This is your, I don't know, this is the info that you need. And the other thing is, hey, we are SharkMob. We've taken this decision. This is why, right? So we were involved in that. And of course, it's not as big as the other part, but that's the thing, is something you develop. And so I'm very proud we were able to do that, actually.
I guess it also depends on how much agency the studio actually decides to give you guys.
Yeah, it usually actually happens that not only in gaming, but all of our clients, that they allow us to basically be representatives of their teams. So we don't go really say we are on behalf of SharkMob, for example. We speak in the name of the studio. But all of these are, of course, communicated with the studio. So it's never, us on our own being like, hey, guys, we're just going to announce something, not tell anyone. Hey, the game is free tomorrow. We're giving out skins for free and so on. But we are able to do these things, though. We are.
If we wanted, we could, but it's
if we wanted to lose the business, we could do it. We're just not sure if we want to lose our jobs,
Yeah, new patch drops tomorrow, by the way.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Any last questions? Okay. Oh, you have more.
Hi, guys.
Hey, yeah.
So, for games like Elden Ring or any type of game that kind of is... Sometimes for these games, you have a community and some streamers can steer the community in some direction in a very quick way. So today you can interview some people and they can say the game is awesome. Tomorrow PewDiePie says something like this game is trash, and then you can receive different reviews the next day.
Absolutely.
Do you plan ahead for such circumstances, or do you have any machine learning algorithms that can plan ahead for you, so you know that this could happen and kind of.
We have machine learning algorithms through our people, I think. No, we don't use this type of technology, at least not in the customer service and community support. Specifically, if we are speaking about Elden Ring, generally the gaming community, I as a female can talk a lot about that, of course. So generally a lot of opinions go around, a lot of things change based on some of the bigger streamers, as you said. And what we do is basically we can see that happening as it happens and decide whether we want to address it. Because on a lot of the occasions, a studio would steer away from having, let's say, an argument with a streamer about their opinion. They can have an opinion, but then if the vast majority of players are rating your game great on stream and you have millions of players playing it every day, then it's maybe better not to go into the political side of it where you argue. But to answer your question, we don't really have any kind of algorithm to monitor that, but what we do and what our teams do is they just monitor the global sentiment of the game across the various channels. So we would go on Twitch, for example, click on Elden Ring, watch everyone that are playing it and see what the sentiment is with the streamer, because you can very quickly guess it, especially the big ones. But we don't really have the power inside our operations to address it when it happens, because this is a more of a PR and marketing thing that needs to be reviewed on a higher level in the studios. So we wouldn't really go into it and politically be politically incorrect, as one would say. And we would respect people for their opinions. I mean, you can't have everyone like their game. I come from, for example, World of Warcraft, where a community was begging for changes for years, and these changes sometimes never came. But as you saw, the game continued going, not with the same temp, but people still played it. So we know that these things come and go sometimes, and sometimes it's just not a good PR to go ahead and address everything that goes out in the internet, unless there is some technical issue or something that can really is on the techie side of things that has to be fixed, like bugs and cheating and whatnot.
It happens. Going into the influence people can have on the game and the opinion of the game, it happens, right, that you would have very big names playing the game, trying out, and well, they're going to massively impact the opinion, right? And they, of course, have even more reach than you have as a developer sometimes. So yeah, it's a whole thing to observe and to consider. But I would just say it's smart for companies when you see someone is big, organically having interest in your game, so they decide not on a contract or on a paid promotion to try it out. And you see they're sticking to it and they're starting to have a positive opinion. I'd say it's good to reach out to them and so, try to not make them steer in the opposite direction, which could, negatively impact. But yeah, that's my take.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
We need to go into break.
Thank you so much.
Dayana and Ignacio from Pontica